The cutoff sleeve, is that just...
That's a trademark.
That's a trademark?
He has 3 shirts with sleeves.
Your black shirt blends so well. I want to make sure folks are aware of the fact that that is a true cutoff sleeve.
You're going to get every redneck from California wanting to order that.
Sun's out, guns out.
So our gritty tip is wear that cutoff sleeve shirt. Work that cutoff sleeve shirt. Make it work for you. And as you feel that manliness, you'll be calling in twice the bulls.
I'm probably going to bring that Sitka or that Swazi and just suck it up and look like an axe murderer on the side of the mountain, because the thing is even though you look like you're wearing a dress and you're getting ready to serve, Swiss Miss Mocha or whatever, it does keep your ass dry, right?
I wanted to ask you a lot of questions about, because you were conspicuously absent when we talked about who the best caller was in that conversation with Ty.
Well, depends.
And who was the ice in the veins killer? You just weren't mentioned.
No, because I'm behind the camera.
I feel you, brother. I feel you.
You know what you look like is like the man from Snowy River. It's like a duster, but with rain gear, right?
We're here with Josh Keller, the infamous Josh Keller, and Ty Stubblefield.
Why am I famous in a bad way?
Infamous.
That's what that means, Larry.
Trent, I will say, is Iceman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like that bull. I pull my bow back. And
it's dead.
No, that's the reason I'm pulling my bow back is to kill that bull.
Yeah.
And it's dead. Every time.
Yeah.
One arrow.
That's pretty sweet.
Ty, his nickname is 3 Arrow. No, true story. It doesn't matter. He gets
Naked Man 3 Arrow?
Yeah, exactly. But he gets 3 arrows off before I can even knock a second arrow. It's just bonk, bonk, bonk. I smoked 2 of the times. One was in the tree.
That one in the tree is awesome.
We are Full Draw Film Tour.
And we are listening to
The Gritty Bowman!
Yeah!
Hello, all right. You're listening to the Gritty Bowman, home of gritty bow hunting films, interviews, tall tales, and a wee bit of manly boasting.
I'm South Cox, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
Hey, this is Corey Jacobson, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
We bone and raised outdoors, and you've been listening to The Gritty Bowman.
There you go.
I'm Casey. And I'm Jordan.
And you're watching
The Gritty Bowman.
All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Bowman podcast. I'm here with my co-host Aron Snyder at Kifaru International, and it's been a while, huh?
Yeah, it's been a while. I've gotten the emails like, dude, when are you getting back on? I'm like, probably when we all stop hunting.
I know. The hunting season has really kept us busy, so we haven't been able to get together as much. So this is, what is today? Oh, today is my birthday. That's what day it is.
Oh, Lord. How old are you?
October 13th. I am 41.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
You're looking good, though. I need no homo.
Yeah, I feel. I mean, I have a lot of other friends in their 40s, and they're not doing so hot. So I'm not. I feel like I need to. I'm a little loose in the cage. I need to get a little tougher, a little fitter. Focus on a little more this year. I got to admit, the Gritty Bowman. Editing stuff on your computer at home takes a toll on.
I told you got to sleep faster.
Yeah, I told you.
What I do.
Is that who was that? That was Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's right.
No, I mean you're right, because with Kifaru, hunting, photography, editing, everything else, people like, hey, you want to come over and help me move? No, I don't. I don't have time.
I know.
Like, I've never asked you to help me move. So unless it's dire straits, I'm not coming. I don't have time.
That's kind of how it has been this year. It's been a wild race, but it's been really rewarding too. So we're going to talk today about hunting partners. We've had quite an extensive season so far with hunting partners, and it's fresh in our minds. And Aron has been thinking about this for a while, so he has some very deep insights.
I do. Well, first, finding a backcountry hunting partner where you're depending on hunting is a lot like a marriage in a lot of ways. Probably harder than finding a woman because in a lot of ways than her wife, you have just like, with dating a woman, there has to be an initial attraction to get it going. So keeping all the homo comments to, I mean, a dual roar, most guys, if you're a backpack hunting guy, you're going to cater, you may see a dude shooting at the range that has a new bow. He likes his bow. Maybe it's his camo. Something's going to bring you over to talk to him and start BSing or whatever the case may be. But you soon find there's many pitfalls in the relationship as time goes on. And some, I have a list here, kind of a joke, right? It's a joke, but I have different names for all the different personalities and maybe tactics, methodologies that you run into with hunting partners, or I've run into, I guess.
Okay, before we get into that, I have a total tangent to go off on here. I have a question for you that I got into some discussions with my hunting partners over, and I kind of want to get your thoughts on this, just because we debated this a little bit. For you, Aaron, like when we've talked about this, one of my questions is, what is the animal that you have hunted that you're like deeply, like you're totally interested in shooting like a big one?
Well, it was elk, but it's certainly mule deer now, and this year shows that. Like mule deer is the thing that I am. After this, you're bound and determined to shoot a giant, like a 195 plus mule deer with a bow.
Okay. That's interesting because as Ben and Anthony and I were up there hunting and we're chasing elk, right? I just don't get all that excited between a 320 bull and like a 350 bull or 360 bull. I mean, I could care less whether I shoot the 320 or the 3. They don't seem like they're different to me.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm not like ultra motivated for that extra.
For whatever reason, I'm the same way with elk. I mean, Colton this year, I said I'm going to shoot basically the first thing with 6 points or so on its head because I want to focus on mule deer because it's still 250 pounds of meat.
Right.
Going in the freezer, mule deer don't taste overly well. I mean, they don't taste great anyway. So, I passed up tons and tons of deer trying to shoot this big, and it was a really adventure. Where with elk, I'm like, I guess I look at more of that's going to be 220 to 50 pounds of meat, whatever. Where with mule deer, it's more of a bit more of a challenge for going for the challenge than any. I mean, not to sound. I can pretty much opening day shoot a bull and a cow within reason of if I don't have trophy caliber in mind.
Yeah.
And with elk, I'm bringing back, like I said, 200 plus pounds.
Yeah.
I could have shot multiple mule deer this year in that 145 to 160 range, or less.
Yeah.
But you get about the same amount of meat as you do 185 to 90 inch deer, and I really wanted to shoot a big deer. Elk don't excite me like they used to.
Well, that's kind of where I'm coming from too. Like I love elk hunting, but I kind of look at this like I was a missionary in Japan, and when I was there, like a lot of the local guys, they always ask me, "So you like Japanese girl? Like you like Japanese girl?" And my response was always like, a pretty girl is a pretty girl. A beautiful woman is a beautiful woman. She could be black, white, Latino. It doesn't, redhead. I mean, a pretty girl is a pretty girl regardless of any of those factors. And when I look at elk, I think a lot the same way. I'm like, a pretty elk is a pretty elk. Whether it's a 310 bull or a 360 bull, I just go, I'm actually more interested in the width or some tine length or other features that really get my attention. More like it's either a pretty bull or it's not. And it might be, I don't know. It doesn't, I just kind of look at just, you just know when you see the elk, that's the one I want to shoot. Or, nah, that one I don't really want to shoot.
In my case, that's all of them. No. I passed a few up, but that was in the first 5 minutes of the hunt.
I'm getting more like that. I will admit, like, especially as I do CrossFit and fitness and I'm focused on, a better life health-wise, having all that elk meat in the freezer is more of a trophy for me than the antlers on the wall. I can't eat the antlers, Yeah. And so having all that grade A prime protein in my freezer, and it just is delicious at the same time. Like, I haven't had an elk that didn't taste awesome yet. Yeah. So it has a lot more. But my animal that just gets me, that trips my trigger is Blacktail. And just a giant, old, mature Blacktail is sort of like a unicorn for me. It's like the unattainable. It's like this thing that gets me so pumped and excited. Whereas, like a 2 or 3 year old Blacktail, it just doesn't. A younger one just doesn't get me all that excited. Yeah. And I am willing to do some crazy stuff to try to make that happen with, like, elk. The size difference doesn't really get me excited, but the size difference on a blacktail deer gets me really excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that is probably, in your case, you're in blacktail country or whatever, but like in Colorado, even though the 190 number gets thrown out a lot for deer, it's not overly difficult to shoot a deer in Colorado. I pretty much prove that every year on accident shooting a deer. I mean, I always shoot some type of a 4-point or what. I mean, a 3.5-year-old deer isn't overly bright. A 4.5-year-old deer, not much more. And I'm not saying deer hunting's super easy, but if you've scouted, the right areas where, dude, I chased the same 3 deer that were between 180 and 200 inches this year with Colton. And dude, I was within 18 yards of them a couple times. I was within 40 yards of them a handful of times, and I missed one twice. I don't have that story with elk, right? Like, I don't
right.
you get that or whatever. So.
That's an interesting insight, because I think maybe you're right, because the number of giant blacktail bucks I've seen during daylight with my own eyes, like not on camera and stuff.
Yeah,
it's only been a few. Like a select few, like I can count them on one hand. Whereas with elk, I see monster elk across the canyon all the time. And I make a play on them even.
Well, dude, I mean, let's face it. There's something, and I'm an elk guy, right? I like hunting elk. I always have, but I've never been a trophy elk hunter. I've shot a few trophies.
Yeah.
There's something about being able to hunt an animal at 12,500 feet, watch it, and you can do the same thing at elk, but it's not the same as deer. Watch it for 2 or 3 days, pattern it. It's really more of a chess game, not taking away anything from elk hunting, because I don't want any hate mail on this stuff. But with an elk, once it's horny, you pretty much... Right, like Colton's almost ran us over. A couple of the bigger bulls I've shot a lot right in the chest coming in, where you're not calling in a mule deer.
Yeah.
It takes a lot more strategy. One of the stupidest things I did this year is I didn't pull my boots off because I was too lazy on a stalk. Where with elk, when I was in that distance, I could have blown a cow call while it was at 80, and it would have ran to 40, and I could have shot it potentially.
Yeah.
Where, like an idiot, it was at 80, and I got to 40, and it must have heard me with my boots on, and then it was 880 again because it heard me and walked off. So, but that's actually one of the little names we have for the different the trophy hunter.
Oh, really? Because it's interesting, because you got like Dan Evans who's all about the bigger the bull elk. That really gets him jacked.
Yeah.
Right. Then you got like South Cox, and he's all about that mule deer.
Yeah.
And I just was curious, because Ben and Anthony and I talked for quite a while, and by far a big bull elk gets them so pumped, so excited, more jacked than anything else. And I started to wonder if there's something wrong with me, because I don't have the same. I love elk, like you said, but I'm not as excited about its age class as I am about some other species like blacktail.
Yeah.
So.
Well. Yeah, no, that for sure. Well, anyway, as far as the list goes,
yeah.
So we get on too much of a tangent. basically that I have found as you throughout my hunting career and the outdoor career, there is a, not to be weird, there's a book called The 5 Love Languages that all men should read to help your marriage, or if you just want to pick up chicks. After my divorce, I felt like I was this tall, read the book. Immediately I learned it helps with dating. It is a good book.
I've read the book too.
It's good for picking up chicks.
Yeah.
So what that tells you is there's different personalities. There's different things some people want to do. And in hunting, you could have a guy that
so that love language, like as an example, right? Like I could, what I need from my wife simply is for her to tell me how freaking awesome I am and how handsome I am.
Words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation on a regular basis. They work really well for me. Now, you can clean the kitchen and you can do the dishes for me. You can have the spotless house. It means nothing to me. Just lie to me and tell me how awesome I am and we're good. You know, and for her, you know, I could tell her how awesome she is till the cows come home. She doesn't care. She wants those dishes done in that house clean, you know. And so it's like that's how she perceives that I love her is doing some things like that for her.
And that is thank God. That's probably how Jody and I get along because as we've talked about before, she's very religious and I am not. She loves getting gifts, and I'm a gift giver, like to everyone. But when you give me a gift, I don't mind, but it's not paramount, right? So, but what I found, for an example, with hunting partners, like if you have a very ethical guy, and you met on Rock Slide or both sides, and hey, let's go hunting out west. I'm from Iowa and I'm from Wisconsin, and I'll pick you up. But then you find out on the side of the mountain when you're hiking in, or maybe after you take a frontal shot. And Mr. Ethical, he's pissed. He's telling you that's the wrong thing to do. And maybe the guy that took the frontal shot, that's his third elk with a frontal. Will it be a problem? It can be, and I've run into that myself. So I'm going to go through a list of all the different things I've run into. We had a good time making the list, John and I, because I finalized it with Pinch on the goat hunt. So I'll just go through them. So the through hiker. Basically, that is the guy hikes all day, hunts from dusk till dawn, or dawn till dusk, and never stops. Doesn't matter which way the wind's blowing. Doesn't matter rain, shine, going straight into a bedding area. His philosophy is all go, no quit. If he's giving 110%, that's the best chance he has of getting an animal.
You know, I know a guy like that. His name's Cousin Ben Morris.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to hunt this year. Like, he was the shooter, and we were trying to get him on film. And he is a man of action. Man of action.
That can be a difficult issue if you have a very methodical hunter. But I'll go through the rest of these because I think people can relate to a lot of these that have had.
We'll see which one I am.
Okay, so then you have the grass is greener than syndrome guy. And he is not to be, usually the grass is greener than syndrome guy is usually in a bad mood. Okay. Not to be confused with the through hiker, because the through hiker's almost always in a good mood. He's motivated. He's ready to go. The grass is greener than syndrome is the guy that is complaining all the time and thinks the elk aren't here, or we blew them out. We have to go. We got to go to this other ridge, or my buddy told me about this other spot. That's the grass is greener than guy. And then you have, these are all three lumped together. What I call the Prefontaine, or the Gump. He is not in the same caliber as the through hiker. He would be kind of like the through hiker, but for whatever reason in his DNA, he has to climb to the top of every mountain, regardless of what Google Earth may say, of what you may tell him. He's going to go as far as he possibly can every day. Now, the through hiker, he may not hike all day. He may hike and then hunt at noon and then hike a little more. But the Gump, he's on his feet miles forever, climbing the tallest mountain, thinking the animals will all be The unattainable is always the colossal with the gump. Where the through hiker, that's just his mentality, to run around. And then the grass is greener than syndrome, the other spot is always better. Now, those three are all different, and I've hunted with, obviously some of them intermix, but I've hunted with all of them. So those would be three potential problems. I know personally I cannot hunt I cannot hunt at all with a grass is greener than guy. The through hiker guy, probably not going to happen because he ends up blowing the animals out. Now the mountain too high guy, the Prefontaine, he's good for scouting. So he wants to, and if he's methodical and he wants to go run on top of every mountain, by all means, I'll be like, well, dude, take a photo of it with it so I can see it. So I can hunt with that guy if he doesn't, throw a chink in my chain. So those are three different personalities. Another one, which is me, the zombie. I don't sleep, right? That can be a problem, especially if you're trying to share a shelter together. Like when it's cold and we're in a teepee, it's good because the fire is always going. But people are, it's not that big of a deal. But when I'm up at 3 a.m. taking night photos, that can be an issue keeping everybody awake. If a guy likes to sleep in, like I hate guys that sleep in well into hunting hours and wing it. Yeah. I personally, I'm up way, way early, and there's nothing wrong or right with any of these. It's all about finding the perfect match for a great backcountry hunting partner.
Great relationship.
So I'm a zombie. So then you have the
like when I hunt with Mark Brownlee, we go get in bed, and I swear Mark's up for another hour or two, doing stuff. It drives me crazy. Like for a guy to be awake when it's time to be asleep.
Yeah.
I mean, it drives me a little crazy, Aaron.
I go to bed probably when you do. Yeah. I just wake up. Like I go to bed at 9 or 10. Yeah. Like, I'll usually be one of the earlier guys to bed, but I only sleep 5 hours. So we go to bed at 9, do the math, get up at 3, right? Roughly.
Jeez.
So anyway, so
that might be more tolerable.
Well, especially if I'm quiet. I mean, I got a headlamp by the bed at my house, so I don't wake up my wife. So I've become a bit of a morning ninja. I can sneak around or whatever. But so that can be a problem. So then you have the hunting Nazi and the ethics police. So the hunting Nazi, there's a few different types. One, he shoots everything out from under you, long distance, close, no matter like, hey, we'll call. Let's set up abreast from each other 40 yards and we'll call. He's the first guy to break rank because he doesn't want you to get one. He's hooking forward to try and get the shot, right? And then he's also, which I won't go, that's generally what we consider the hunting Nazi, always trying to shank an arrow into an animal out from under you.
I've experienced similar.
Yeah. Well, I've had it happen a lot, including me. I've been that before, and I've learned now. I just hang back. I generally don't. But like 2 to 3 people hunting at the same time, it doesn't work. 2, someone's always getting screwed unless you've got the shooter caller. But if you set up where you're both calling and both shooting, one of the two is going to be the hunting Nazi, and he's going to be looking over, and he's going to be like, I'm going to sneak forward and get a little better of an angle. And that happens all the time. And that some guys, like I don't, Colton and I set up this year. Bulls came in. Colton got the first shot. It didn't, Colton's not that way at all. But if you're hunting, let's say Colton was from Colorado and I'm from Massachusetts, and we head out, and I've spent $600 on a tag and a plane flight. Colton just drove down the road. The elk comes into 50 yards and Colton smokes it and doesn't give me the first opportunity. There can be a point of contention there for sure. I've seen that, not with me, but I have seen some people come undone. Why didn't you let me shoot? It's like, well, I didn't read the fine print. I didn't know if I was supposed to.
Well, and like Ben and Anthony and I early on, Ben and Anthony, I'm really generous. I hate to say it openly, but I don't care so much whether I shoot the animal or don't shoot the animal. I just not as, I don't get the shivers and the shakes and the, you know, I got to kill it kind of thing. But Ben and Anthony, they especially early on, when we first started hunting together, I remember we were in the eel caps and they were both going after kind of the same group of elk. And like you said, the idea is, well, if this guy blows it, this guy will be there. But
which never
somebody kind of gets screwed. Yeah. Like
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, almost every time on a buddy, unless you are close, like Colton and I got along great as far as that goes, no issues. Colton and I never really hunted together that much, hung out a lot and cardio, whatever. But like those elk came in and he shot and he missed one and I have no, that's what I figured would happen. He was a little bit different position than me and the elk ran around and Colton, after he was done screwing around, he laid down and started calling and I shot mine and not a problem. But I have been in hunting camps where it was a problem. Like there was some yelling going on and screaming and I don't like getting yelled at personally. So like, if an elk comes in and it's 5 yards closer to me than you, I'm probably going to shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
But the other guy may think he had a better shot. So that can be a problem.
Yes, yes. The hunting Nazi. What was the other one you said?
Well, I'm getting to that one. So you have the hunting Nazi, the Crippler, and the ethics police. So the Crippler, and there's some variations of this. The Crippler is pretty obvious. He wounds everything, right? Like he's by far wounded more animals than he's ever killed. And the problem with the Crippler is a lot of times that's because they can't hold their mud or they don't. Then that's usually not fixable over time, and that means there's a lot of animals crippled by the time he gets his crap together. Or he just didn't do his job or the due diligence needed to tune his broadheads, practice with his bow. And if you're 6-7 miles in, I've seen this a lot before too, and the other guy hasn't practiced and you've been just slaving away, shooting your bow, getting everything dialed in. He screws on broadheads, wings a couple in the trailhead, off you go. You call in a bull for him and he wings it up in the shoulder and it's a 320 public land bull. Very few people are going to walk away from that without some kind of a 4-letter word coming out at the other guy, like at least an I told you so.
Right.
And that can be a big problem, right?
Yeah.
Especially depending upon how much effort you've put into it, how far you've traveled, how much time off you have. Because if the guy that has put all that effort into it, he may not be as financially stable. He's put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to make sure these 5 days I have are everything I've got this year. Where the other guy, he may make $200K a year. He doesn't care. He's got the whole month off. And then he wings one, and he is a crippler. That can be a problem, and I've seen it. So, and then
besides the undue suffering you cause an animal and the ethics, if you're the ethics guy, this is going to be a huge problem to hunt with a crippler.
I'm leading up to that. The ethics police, and that, which I bring up the moral compass all the time. If two hunting partners do not have the same moral compass, that's going to be a problem. When I say moral compass, meaning effective shot distance. Frontal shots, are they okay? Are they bad, good? Winging an arrow through a hole in the brush, to some people, that's sacrilege, right? You don't do that. Where other guys, they're like, I think I've got a hole. I'm gonna take the shot. Mm-hmm. Well, and I've met some, of course, on the internet, everyone's the ethics. Everybody's perfect on the internet. Right. I don't know if you do that. It's got fine print right here under Google. And
right.
But I have taken a couple frontal shots on animals that died, and then later on, I'll give you a quick scenario here of a story that ended a friendship. I don't talk to the guy anymore. Super cool guy, went and hunted with him. Few different things happened, but basically we were talking about long-range shot distance, and he was complaining about another friend shooting animals too far away. Course of the 4 or 5 days, you talk about a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Called in a bull. I was by myself, shot the bull, went down and got him on the way back to getting the bull, shot a cow. Both frontal shots, both died. No, one was broadside. The next morning, I called in a cow for him. He emptied his quiver, did not hit it at any vitals, all the way from 14 yards to 28 yards. Looked like a daisy patch, right? Arrow sticking out of it. Very, very. And this guy's not a great shot. He doesn't practice a lot. So we get down to it, and I just felt obligated to say, hey, I'm not cussing for you, Katie, but I said, hey, you Peckerwood, what the hell? This is all your fault. Whether it's you didn't practice, you didn't spin your broadheads, or you just can't shoot worth the crap, or you can't hold your mud. I kill my animals, and you gave me crap about it. You were talking crap about our other friend, which he takes some long-distance shots at mule deer. But now here we are when the rubber met the road. You put more holes in this thing than Swiss cheese. We haven't talked a whole lot since then. I was pissed because it's like, it's one thing to just say, yeah, I'm not ever going to take a frontal. It's another thing to throw me on the couch and tell me how I'm mentally flawed because I'm taking a frontal shot. So, very important.
Don't you think, though, some of that has to do with the fact that we tend to project our comfort zone, our abilities onto other people? So if you're a guy who, can't hit what he's aiming at, it feels really unethical if you project that onto someone else who takes a 50-yard shot.
Or farther, yeah.
Or farther, right? It's like because you're projecting your abilities onto someone else. And I think we all tend to do that. We tend to look at our own experience and then project that out and go, hey, that's wrong. When we're not all created equal. Some people are better looking than others. Some are faster. Some shoot better. Some hold their mud better.
Well, I 100% agree with that. I mean, guys that tell me, I bring it to the gym, right? Because I can't bench press 500 pounds. Who am I to go in and tell a guy he shouldn't be bench pressing 500 pounds when he can? That means he dieted better. He's got better genetics. He trained harder. Whatever the case may be, he can do it, and I cannot.
Right.
The proof's in the pudding, where you can get into a long ethical debate about long-distance shooting and what is okay and what's not in technology. But the moral of the story for this podcast, because I think we're going to do one on long-distance shooting at some point, is if you're a 40-yard and in guy and everybody else is Satan, you better not have Satan and ethics police together, because it will end bad. And I've seen that one end bad on forums personally. It's not good. So some ground rules should be established on that one for sure. So,
Yep.
So then you have these are, I'm comparing them, the Negative Nancy and the Mr. Rogers. The Negative Nancy also can be called the Eeyore, like off Winnie the Pooh. And Mr. Rogers, so I am definitely guilty of being overly happy and positive all the time. To a point, it's pissed people off, because it could be a blizzard snowing, and I'll be like, man, I'm sure glad I brought my hat. This will make great photos. People sometimes, they just want to be surrounded by other Eeyores. So the negative, nothing bothers me more than negativity, like in life, like especially hunting, like you blow elk out now. For me, I look at it, well, it's going to be an adventure finding them. Compared to, I've hunted with other guys that piss and bitch and moan the rest of the day, and it just brings this like dark cloud that is spackled on the tent wall of just negativity. And that can be a problem. Where Mr. Rogers, I'm always like, I mean, occasionally I will throw some caution into the wind, but pretty much anything goes. Like, oh, we need to go 12 miles in to find the elk? All right, yeah, let's do that. That'll be cool. People don't like that a lot. That can really...
Yeah. Yeah. When you're trying to be depressed or angry and you got Mr. Happy Man, that can be really irritating.
It can be in the morning, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I pop up immediately. I'm ready to go, where you're like probably a little unhappy first thing.
When I'm hunting, I don't really have too much. I get... In fact, Ben and Anthony mentioned this a couple of times. I told you I was pretty sick the first few days.
Yeah.
First 4 days of our hunt. Fever and chills and everything. It was really tough. But at night, when I'm feeling sick and crappy like that,
That was 4 days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4 days. The first, I showed up at Anthony's house and no one was there. And I had driven all the way from Oregon to Idaho. I walked through the door, no one's there, and I'm shivering and I'm cold. And I just ran and climbed into Anthony's bed and then fell asleep and sweat like a dog inside of his bed. And he came home and found me in his bed. And I was like, yeah, I don't feel so good, And he's like, dude, you messed. I don't want you in my bed,
That's funny.
But
oh Lord.
But I'll get cranky like if I don't get enough sleep, like at nighttime. Like I'll wake up fine, but going to bed at night, like the longer I'm kept away from my sleeping bag after the sun goes down, the angrier I get. There's sort of a little progression.
Yeah. Well, and I think, obviously, as we said before, there's nothing necessarily right or wrong with any of these, so nobody get butthurt over this.
Right.
It's just a lot of these won't mix match together. And how this all started was we had some espionage problems, which is another title down here of spreading hunting areas with hunting partners and things that happened while you're hunting, and one guy not getting along with another guy this season and last season or whatever. And so we started talking about it is very difficult to, and other jokes will be made here about homosexuality, like a match.com, right? Like if you threw up immediately, like, well, if I'm not saying this is my profile, but I don't sleep much. I don't mind taking long shots. I'm a gear junkie. I eat a lot. I have unlimited time off, and I'll do some pretty stupid stuff. That pretty much tells the story right there. And I chew a lot of Copenhagen, right? Okay, so that pretty much, that's going to,
Match.com.
Yeah, exactly. For hunting, right? Like, there you have it. That's what I'm good for. I think if you could do that, because I have seen so many different hunting partners fall to the wayside. In fact, my buddy James and I, we've mended things up, but he and I had a falling out this year for a few different reasons that are on this list and others. And he's great to hunt with. He's a super cool guy to hunt with. But anyway, I'll keep going through the list, or we'll be going on for 7 hours here. So the next one is actually the spy, which the espionage, the CIA, the FSB, KGB, you can name whatever you want. But those are generally guys that, one, go into a relationship saying, you know what, we should really start hanging out with Brian. He's a great resource. Rather than saying, we should hang out with Brian because he's a cool guy. We're hanging out with you because you have land, maybe, good hunting area, a honey hole. And it's a seek and destroy mission, right? You're going in there straight up to hunt this guy's land. And I'm guilty of this too sometimes, and because I'm so freewheeling with info, luckily they're my spots, which is why I only hunt my spots. If I want to help a guy out and send him into an area, I don't want somebody mad at me. And in fact, Henry Ferguson, we were friends, and for a few other reasons or whatever. And Henry's a great guy, although he does not like me anymore. Dale Pearson shot an elk in a unit, and I helped him. Well, Dale and Rich, they shot a couple bucks. And anyway, I was with them for one of them. Well, Henry had missed that deer. One of Henry's friends earlier in the year, Henry had taken me somewhere into the general area where they hunt to go shed hunting. Well, then we killed a few months later the buck that they missed. And next thing you know, Henry thinks that we basically poached the animal in the wrong unit, because to hunt it where he was, we would have been in the wrong unit. But the moral of the story is that's just off of him thinking I did that. And we don't really talk anymore. And there's other things involved in it too. Yeah. But the thing, like, there's got to be some ground rules, and it's happened many times in areas that I've hunted where I'll take a guy in there to shed hunt or to scout. Anymore now, I have to be like, dude, you come in here ever again, it has to be with me, approved by me, and no one else ever comes with you. And you can't even do that anymore because everybody lies. I mean, I've found so many people in spots that I've showed them and say, hey, if you need to go in there this weekend, run in there, try and get yourself an elk, but don't go back. It's one of my spots. And the next thing you know, there's this truck, and he's hiking in with 3 of his buddies. I've gotten burnt on that a lot. So that's the spy, the KGB, the CIA.
I think that's probably right there at the top of hunting. Like, you can decide, we're just not going to hunt together again.
Yeah.
But because South Cox did a great podcast on this, on the Full Draw Full Time podcast, I think just the other day, a week or so back, where they talked about hunting partners, and he brought a few guys into one of his spots that he's been hunting, I don't know, like 20 years or something.
Yeah.
And this is a spot that has deep history for him. It's always produced well, and
I've heard. I didn't watch the podcast. I've heard this story.
Yeah, and he talked about hunting partners, and one of the things they brought up was, more hunting partners more friendships are ruined over hunting spots.
Yeah.
Than probably anything else. Like you might just not be able to tolerate the through hiker because you're the methodical hunter, right?
Yeah.
But that means you just decide, you hunt here and we'll just not hunt together. But you're still buddies and you check them up on Facebook and blah blah.
Yeah.
The dude goes into a spot that you asked him not to go in and to keep it sacred, and he tells 10 guys and they all show up with their trucks. He's dead to you.
Yeah, that's like waterboarding and fingernail pulling. Like, that's a big deal.
Like hunting spots are like, in Anthony, I've never met someone more cautious and more, and maybe it's because he's been burned. He was hunting a lot longer than Ben and I, but he's right there. Like, there's just he just can't tell anyone. I mean, it's anything, and it's top secret. I mean, it's just hunting spots are sacred, like at a level next to deity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's good analogy. I think with a good example is there was a few of us that went shed hunting this year. Just little examples, food for thought type of stuff. There was 4 of us. This is an area my buddy and I shed hunt a lot. We brought a couple guys we trust, super cool guys. Well, a guy texted me. I won't mention his name because he's already sensitive enough. But he texted me, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, we're shed hunting." He's like, "Okay, I'm coming up." And this guy lives 3 hours away now. And I'm like, "No, I don't think that's a good idea." So of course he texts back, "What, am I not good enough?" He's pissed, right? He's a friend of Frank's. Am I not good enough to shed hunt with you guys anymore? And it's like, well, this isn't really my spot. It's my buddy's spot. And we've already got 4 guys here. He sells them. He keeps them. It's a huge thing to my buddy. It's just we don't want a 5th guy. Like, I don't have anything against you. Now, to this guy, the one texting me, he didn't put any hard work into finding this spot, nor has he ever invited us to any of his spots to go shed hunting, nor would they be worth the crap if we went. He doesn't have anything to lose, so he's not seeing it like I am, where I'm like, I don't want to lose my friendship with my other buddy because he may not be keen on the other guy coming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But this guy, I'm sure I'm talking about, had already probably went in there without us. But it's kind of an awkward position because I'm like, just had to be like, no, because we didn't want a 5th guy in there. Not because this guy's a bad guy or that we dislike him. It's just, I mean, do the math when you're in a bar. If there's 4 dudes and 4 women, do you really want a 5th guy, right? That pretty much, somebody's getting the...
And Anthony, because I'm torn. I really am. I really want to mentor people, get them excited about the sport, bring them into archery, bring them into hunting in general. I want to see them be successful, so I share a lot of information and give things away and kind of bring people along. And that has burned me quite a bit, being, giving it all out like that. And Anthony, on the other hand, is like, what are you doing, man? You don't tell anybody, kind of the opposite. And we've gotten into some disagreements over that. But anymore, I'm getting to the point where when it comes to a hunting spot, like when it comes to the number of guys that go out hunting, it's Ben and Anthony and myself. It's the three of us, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes our fathers. Other than that, it's like we don't bring anyone else. And Anthony's been really the driver behind that.
Yeah.
But for good reason. Now, over time now I see some areas where I used to hunt a lot that are just not very good anymore because too many people know about it, and people that I told about it told their friends about it and their friends about it, and it's not the same. It looks like a parking lot over there.
And I think that some people, kind of another example this year, I was supposed to go hunting. A couple guys came out from a different state, and I sent them to basically one of my best hunting areas I have for over the counter. They went there last year and they did pretty good, but they didn't get one. The guys, my buddy's wife was pissed off. He didn't get one, spent a bunch of money. So this year they were coming back out, and I told him I would go help him. And just the way the schedule worked, I was coming back from Washington, and I literally got my stuff kind of loaded up, and I was going to head back out there, and work got pretty crazy. Well, these guys, I don't know if they both got elk, but one of them got an elk. And that was like right after I got back, and that was the guy I wanted to make sure got an elk. So once he got an elk, I'm like, okay, I need to work another day, right? Like, anyway, the moral of this story, whether they both got elk or not, one of them did. They had a good trip. They had multiple opportunities. I haven't heard from them. I wasn't able to go out and help them, which is they're probably pissed at me because I couldn't go. But I don't think that they realize that area is 7 to 9 miles in. It's 4 hours from me. It's a long hike, and the amount of time and effort just that I put into that to send them in there. I think some people that come from areas like maybe Oregon or Washington, where there's a lot more road hunting, and you're giving up a spot, which is important. You give up an area that's 8 miles into the backcountry. You're giving up a lot that's 4 hour drive away. You're giving up the blood, sweat, and tears, the time and effort, and everything else. Not to say you want to give up places by a road, but you're also giving up a lot of physical labor when you give those areas up. And my point to that is I trust these guys. I'm not saying they do that. They could be mad that I didn't go this year, and they're like, piss on Aaron. I'm going to take a buddy in there next year so it's easier because he can't make it. Well, then I've got 3 or 4 guys in one of my prime areas, which I don't think they're going to do that, but my point being is you have to be careful, because if you're really overprotective of spots, and let's say somebody talked to Anthony into doing that and giving him some advice, Anthony's going to want to kill him if he figures out they're taking 4 guys now instead of 2. And that happens every year a lot. It's happened to me, and I hear about it happening all the time.
Well, and to be fair, Anthony is one of those people that researches units constantly, gets his feet on the ground, goes out, scouts the area, spends time in the unit, is on Google Earth. He's the one that's out there earning the knowledge of those places. And so when you put that much work into finding a honey hole, learning it, finding, certain animals that you're like, wow, this is a good hunting spot, then naturally, you're more protective over it than the guy who just gets to go, right? I'm the guy that Anthony says, okay, this is where we're going this year. I didn't do any of the work. I didn't get on Google Earth. I didn't go scout it out before we got there, and vice versa. There are areas here around home where I hunt, where I've done all that work, and I'm a lot more protective over it than I used to be. But yeah, we tend to, I think, in this society today, just overlook the fact that, just kind of look at things that we easy come, easy go is kind of what I'm getting at. And so if you didn't do the work to find the spot or to learn the area, you're just not as careful with the knowledge of where it's at. You're just not as careful with protecting that unit. And so because of that, we have, as a group, have become a lot more secretive than we ever have in the past.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I mean,
and exclusive. And I feel kind of bad because, like, I want to help other guys hunt, but there's only one September, And when you go out and you're archery hunting for elk, I only got like 10 days of vacation, maybe 14 at max. It's like I'm going to go hunt with Ben and Anthony for 7 to 10 days. There's not much time left over after that. It's over. The season's over. So I got all these guys who'd like to go hunting with elk, but there's not. The time doesn't exist.
The one thing, this is off the subject of this a little bit, but talking about helping others or whatever, I get question because I go on so many hunts to help guys, and of course haters twist it around that I go on that hunt because I can't kill stuff myself, whatever. But the point being is, for me, selfless acts of service, whatever you want to call it. I really like going on hunts and taking photos. Now it's hard for people to wrap their head around that. So, like I have literally like if next year with you guys, I'd be like, hey, you want me to go photo it? You know what I mean?
Right.
Which you know me well. I mean, I'm not going to go and hunt. Your spot's ugly as sin anyway. But I mean, it's not what I would want to go on. But going on hunts like that to just help, even that takes a high level of trust, because it's like, well, yeah, he's helping this year. What's he doing next year? Because I've had guys, where I've said, hey, if you need a hand, let me know. I'll go out there and give you a hand, because I just like being out there.
Right.
Well, then I literally have to give them my credentials and how much I know the area before they even trust me, because they're just thinking I'm scamming in on them.
Yeah, like nobody would just go and take photos. Well, I get that. There must be some ulterior motive going on here.
Yeah, I mean, Pinch was laughing because he was like, don't you have other hunts you could go on? I'm like, yeah. And I mean, one of the guys offered that I'd helped out on some hunts to buy me this. Nobody's going to believe this, but John Pinch can get on and defend me. I think it was a $12,000 elk tag to go down this weekend. It was private land. I turned it down. I mean, they were guaranteeing me a 360 bull. It is just not me. That's not my thing. People can understand that. But it's a big difference when you meet somebody from, talking about the hunting areas, kind of a spot. Almost anybody east of, I don't know. If you kind of go Iowa, Missouri, North, South Dakota, it seems like if there's a lot of private land sectioned off for whitetail hunting.
Right.
Some of those guys don't get that. You don't post on public forums, I hunted in unit, whatever, 29C over Bluff Pass and just smoked this giant bull. They just don't, you don't do that stuff, right?
No.
You don't.
No.
But those freaking guys, Missouri is Casey Rash. I love Casey Rash, great guy. But if I could have choked him through the screen, he'd post photos, areas, and he just didn't know. Yeah. He's from Missouri. It's all private land. Right. But that can get you in trouble.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, my favorite place to blacktail hunt is, guess what? Private property. Nobody else can go there.
Yeah.
And everybody knows where I blacktail hunt.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter because they don't have permission to hunt there.
Yeah.
So it's like you come at it from a totally different perspective. You lease it, it's yours, right? It's yours. You don't have to. Everybody can know where you hunt. They won't hunt there. But when you're dealing with public land and everybody can go there and they see you shoot a whopper out there, it's like now everybody and their dog. So there almost is like what you haven't put on there yet that I've heard is the hunter who is like, I don't know how you describe it. Maybe you've got this, but the guy who always has to hunt where his friend just shot the biggest animal.
Yeah, actually, that's almost the next one.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, describe this.
Yeah. Well, depending, or that goes into a whole nother tangent. But
because I have friends that are like, "Where did you get that?" And then you tell them, and now that's their new place they're going to hunt. And then next year you're hunting someplace completely different, and you shoot something. They're like, "Where'd you get that?" And then they're in that unit too, and it's like, hey, the other unit had big animals in it too. They didn't change in 1 year.
Yeah. It's
kind of like the grass is greener guy almost.
Well, that's the silly putty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's silly putty.
Yeah, because he molds himself into wherever you were. I mean, he basically that's his spot now, right? Like it's
right.
And the silly putty. I mean, talking about this, the silly putty one. You know, first time you had silly putty, your parents probably showed you can take a newspaper and smush it on there, and you can. It's now imprinted on the silly putty, and you can take silly putty if you're figuring out how much curvature for an elk call for the roof of your mouth. You can mold it to anything.
Yeah.
And the silly putty hunter is the guy that has molded himself into what, whether it's a person or a thought of where a group of people go. Like when David Long and I were actually talking, it was funny. Guys would be like, "Oh, I sat on the rock. I think it's so funny. I know where he hunts, whatever." And I'm like, "Did you smoke a 190 deer? Because sitting on a rock and shooting a 190 deer, that's a big difference." And I mean, honestly, like you get a lot of that, right? Like there was some guys this year, I'm pretty certain, that figured out where we hunted from last year, and they were in there this year. And anyway, we'll quit talking about that. But that's the silly putty, is what we call that.
Got it.
He's molding himself around you and your buddies and where you hunt.
Got it. Okay.
So the next guy is the George Jones, which would be the no-show. For all of you people around our age or that like older country, George Jones was very well known for not showing up to his concert. He had a drug problem, a drinking problem. But then you got to love George Jones. He just sang a song called No Show Jones. I encourage you to Google it on YouTube, George. And it was about him not showing up to these concerts. And it was like a huge thing. And I've had older friends of mine talk about it, like, man, I'd have his tickets to go see him and he wouldn't show up, and you'd be so pissed. And then a song would come on Monday, you'd be like, man, I love that guy. I can't hate him. So that would be the no-show guy, either the guy that cancels last minute or the guy that you could just never depend on. Even the guy that when you're on the side of a mountain, there's some guys you can call and give them grid coordinates and they're coming. They're guys you can't do.
Yeah.
So that's the George Jones.
We've all had those where they practice all season. You talk about how awesome it's going to be, where you're going to go, and all that. This is George Jones, hunting companion, is the type that Anthony really cannot deal with. Like he plans like excessively. We get it all dialed in. It's all ready to roll. And for someone to not show up, it's like it's on. Yeah, it's over. We cannot stay in this relationship. But I'm kind of the same way too. Like I need a hunting partner I can rely on that's committed. That's as insane about it as I am. If you're not on the same insanity level, like, and that includes like showing up to climb the mountain to the top because that's where the elk are, and then going back down the canyon the same day because they all ran to the bottom. If you're not that guy, if that doesn't appeal to you, then we're probably not the best partners.
I can tell you firsthand for me, my issue, because I always show up to one hunt, I have a bit of an overcommittal problem, which I just tell guys, Pinch learned real fast. I have a lot of people. I'm not that very organized. I have a lot of people that ask me to go. And so now I'm just like, I'll make it if I can, because I have the best of intentions in the world to making it to. Well, I was supposed to go with Ryan and Tanya to Idaho to hunt on her elk hunt, but then John didn't kill the goat on the first trip. So I called her and I'm like, dude, I might make it, but if John wants to go in these dates, I'm going.
Right.
It's a little bit of an overcommittal. I don't have a name for that other than the Snyder.
I have to admit I'm a lot like that. I have all these intentions. I'm going to go on all these things. I'm going to make them all. I'm going to help this guy, and this guy. But it's just I say yes to too much.
Well, and you can only fit 5 pounds of poo in a 5-pound bucket, and there's no way around that. I mean, I have tried many times to explain to people the position, like, hey, I'm sorry. I wanted to go, but this happened, or whatever. Anyway, so that you could call that the Snyder, because that, or you could call it the well, we'd have to come up with a name, the Baldy, because we both have shaved heads.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's we'll call that one the Snyder. Then you've got the Marty Stauffer, the guy that always wants to photo and film, the Marty Stauffer. As weird as it is, that does tend to irritate guys if they're not used to a camera, or it has a chance of blowing an animal out.
Yeah,
it can be a positive thing too.
Oh yeah, there's guys who absolutely disdain and hate the camera.
Yeah,
especially because it makes everything harder and the odds of success go down.
Yeah,
especially if you're filming.
And sometimes people, because I'll get right up in there on certain, like my buddy Lance Manning, right? The dude he's as quiet, whether he's, tapping a haji or holding a baby, he is straight at, just, yeah.
He's ninja.
Oh, he's just like all the time, low key. And so I'm like, he looks like Leonidas, right? The dude is no homo, very fit, traced on abs, like everything. But he doesn't like the camera, right? So yeah. I knew Mountain Ops would want these photos because it's Lance, right? He looks literally like he's ready to invade and go kill the big bald dude with gold stuff hanging out of his face. And I'm like, all right, Lance, hold on, move a little. And he's like, huh? All right, a little left, wait. Because you know how with the camera, I'm like snapping them all over. Well, then, of course, Mountain Ops has used those photos. He was fine with it, but he could kill you with a toothpick, so that's a problem as well. But it took him a minute to get used to it. So that's the Marty Stauffer.
Got it.
And then the nanny, which the nanny is he's the guy you always have to take care of. He's the guy that always forgets stuff. The guy that there's also the nanny, and you also have the mooch. So the
list goes
reading my
on.
notes. What's that?
The list goes on and on.
Well, and dude, like the mooch is a guy that's generally, because you have the poor guy that can't afford it. I'm okay with that guy. I'll help him all day long.
Right.
But you also have the mooch would be the guy that he doesn't, the mooch and the nanny, they don't bring it because they don't want to or they forgot. It's too heavy. And then they end up borrowing all your crap. Ben Rawls, the guy that I was just with on the goat hunt. Dude, I made his coffee for him twice. If he hadn't financed this whole show, like Ben, I was laughing because I was like, John, how much extra stuff do you carry for him? Because and Ben is he's just a different, we call him DD, or I do, different dude. He's just a different dude. Carries a 95 millimeter, 10 miles in, and no headlamp. It's too heavy. I'm like, what the flip, Kip? And I'm sure if Ben watches this, I probably won't get invited anymore. But like, I see him digging around in his pack, and I'm like, Ben, did you want some hot chocolate? Or no, he said, I'm going to make some hot chocolate. And then he's digging around in his pack. And I know damn good and well, he's got no hot chocolate or coffee. And I'm like, Ben, do you want some hot chocolate? Yeah. Now, Ben is the kind of guy, he offered to buy me the Washington governor's tag next year for the goat, which I'm not that way. I was like, no, dude, I'm cool. And he probably would do it, right? He's a very financially giving individual, but you're probably going to have to make him a sandwich. You're probably going to carry his stuff back off the mountain, guaranteed. And you're also probably going to have to go. He's never going to say, "Hey, I'll go get water. Give me your bladder." So you're kind of taking care of him. So he's kind of the nanny.
Yeah.
But he's not a mooch, right? He will literally, if you said, Ben, unless you give me $500, I'm not going to do it. He would pull 5 bills out and be like, "All right, take care of me for the next couple of days." The mooch is the guy that's kind of does the same things, but doesn't. There's no compensation in the relationship. It's very one-sided. He's always borrowing your stuff, whatever. So that's the mooch.
Nice.
You're not marking where I cussed it, because I don't think I cussed.
No.
All right, good. I've been good, Katie.
I think we have to take a potty break.
Okay, do you want to?
Yeah, just for a minute. But I want to get back on the nanny thing.
Okay.
All right, break time.
Right. Okay,
we're back from the potty break.
And snack time.
And lunch, yeah.
I ate my snacks before we started. I had 2 peanut butter bars.
After that last podcast, when I was eating the peanut butter on the show, my cousin Ben emailed me and is like, dude, that was a great podcast, except I can't stand it when I hear people chew food. And I was like, Ben, really? And he's like, yeah, I had to turn it off. I'm like,
oh, Lord.
Oh, man. So I'm going to be sensitive to those who can't stand to hear people chew. I'm going to stop right now, and I'll get to that rest of that bar later.
All right. Well, so I think we left off
the nanny.
So
that's one thing where I don't mix well with the nanny because, Aaron, I don't like to babysit grown men.
Yeah. And I don't think that people realize how much this can affect someone, not meaning like PTSD long term, but meaning 10 days of this. 1 day is probably not a big deal. You can withstand anything for 1 day or 2. But if you're a guy that is, as other ones, a planner, right? If you're a guy that has to sit there and clock it out and target overlays and everything else, and then the other guy is we'll make a plan on the way. 3 stocks like that hunting relationship is over. Like, I mean, because I'm not I'll sit there and watch all day, but I'm not planning necessarily. I'm just seeing what's out there. Once I think that deer is in position, there is no real plan. I look really quickly at and I'm going to plan on the way. Where I've had guys, a buddy of mine, Dave Connor, he's an SF dude. He's a planner. Great guy. But, I mean, I think he plans himself right out of animals sometimes because he's waiting for certain things. So, but, yeah, so we had the nanny. We had the ex-wife, which is a big problem. That is the guy you're going to make his current wife his ex-wife because she is a severe pain in the butt and doesn't let him go. What Nick Schmidt, he gets crap all the time about this on Facebook. I don't know how cool his wife is or not, but he got crap about that a lot. But if you're hunting partners, if his wife is not real freewheeling with time, is a constant nag, he's on the sat phone or cell phone with her, he's constantly worried about it, that's going to probably be a problem. If you're a guy like me, maybe my wife's got a boyfriend. She doesn't care when I go, right? She's like, yeah, go ahead. And then I'm with a guy that's constantly whining and my wife's going to be pissed and this is going on. We call that the ex-wife because if he hangs out with you anymore, he's going to have an ex-wife. So that's the ex-wife hunter.
Yeah, I don't have patience for that guy either. The nanny and the ex-wife. I'm probably not well received by a lot of my friends' wives.
I have that problem too.
Except for those wives that are super cool and love hunting and all of that, then they love me. But there's a lot of them out there that they see me as the enemy.
Oh,
so,
I'm sure.
When we go hunting together, they're putting a big strain on their marriage.
Well, and the thing on, like, if it's a buddy that doesn't have a lot of money, that's understandable. I'll fit the bill if I have the money. Like, hey, dude, I'll pay for food, gas. Don't worry about that. Because not everybody, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well, my buddy Jeremy, who he does pretty good now, but like, you know, he's got 2 kids. Well, you know, my buddy Jeremy, believe it or not, the one that had testicular cancer. We put the Uniballer on his backpack on his label. Dude, he had another kid with 1.
What a champ.
I know, right? He was like, can you believe the power I have? Well, you know, he's got money. It's not like he ever needs anything too much from me, but I always look at it like he's got 3 kids. I'll buy, you know what I mean?
I'll pitch in.
Yeah, exactly. But he always, you know, he's a great example. He always finds a way to go. He has the money and he has 3 kids or 2, third on the way.
Yeah.
And so, but you look at other guys that have a 28-foot fifth wheel and a $70,000 truck and basically a lot of things I dream to have, not dream, but I don't have because of choices I made, but then he can never go hunting, but he wants to go hunting and his wife's pissed off. There can be a point of contention in there, some grind along the way. So that's the ex-wife. So the next one, and some of these aren't as big as others, but you have the long distance. We call it the Carlos Hathcock or the Wahlberg. Could be the Chris Kyle, which is a long distance shooter. Whether it be with I got somebody from Oregon calling me. Whether it be with a bow or a gun, long distance shots do not affect them. They're fine with that.
Right.
We're not going to go into the long debate of what's right or wrong. But if you're a guy that doesn't like long shots and you're hunting with a guy that does, that can be a big. I've seen that. That's like church and state. That's like religion and politics. That can become a cuff battle, right? Like that can be a big deal.
Yeah.
So that would be the Hathcock, the long distance guy. And then you have in your case, this would be you, the navigator, the guy that gets lost all the time. Now that doesn't necessarily, if you're always the only time I've seen this, I've never seen this in a hunting relationship.
Yeah.
But it's freaked me out before because if I know you get lost and you're not back at a certain time, I'm not ever like mad at anyone, but that can freak people out because especially like me, I'm known to come back like when I'm not, or stay the night away from camp with nothing.
Yeah.
But if it's my wife's a navigator, that can at least cause some stress.
Well, definitely like not being the best with navigation. I am really diligent about survival and fieldcraft. Like, I have the stuff to make a fire, to spend the night, hey, dude, I can just camp for a few days if it comes to it.
I think also too that what makes I am a very good navigator. So these aren't all negative things.
Yeah.
If you're going to partner up with a guy, it'd be good if you partnered up with me because you're not going to get lost.
Yeah. Well, Ben and Anthony are like human, especially Ben, human GPS units, but at the same time, like I said, I'll carry multiple GPS units and a compass and a map. And now that I got it on my phone, I even have it on my phone, and I'm like, so I got it dialed, right? Like when it comes to technology and using GPS and everything, I'm pretty skilled. So it sort of makes up for. But if I abandon the electronics and just go on straight, sensing, it can get sketchy. Like I can be like, where are we? Well, but in that open country where we hunted this year, it was it was quite easy to stay oriented, Yeah. When you're in some of the forests of Oregon, it's kind of funny because, there might be some guy in Arizona or, the plains of Colorado that are like, you get lost, haha. Well, when you go in the frickin' forest, it's a little different. After hunting the open country, I could see the ridgetop. I could see where that was. And I may not choose the best route to get out, but I know where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is a lot different because you can get lost in old-growth timber because everything looks like old-growth timber.
Yeah. So
I turn my GPS on and mark some stuff when I'm in old-growth. If I'm using a super tarp, okay, well, I got a brown tarp and a brown forest.
Right.
I'm probably not going to walk right back to that without a GPS. So, but either way,
you're right. If you team up though with a guy who's really good at just navigation, and then, we get by. It's funny you talk about this, and I can see elements of each of these guys in Ben and Anthony and myself, even Mark Brownlee, and
very well thought out list.
Yes, it's thorough. Okay.
Well, you also, so the next would be, it's a 3-part. You have the killer or the meat hunter, which is more like me, will on a couple occasions probably pass up the bird in the hands better than 2 in the bush, even though the 2 in the bush might be 350 bulls or whatever. Like, he's the guy that while you guys are thinking about shooting, he's got 3 arrows on the way to the target. Yes. He wants to see stuff hit the ground. That's his thing. And he wants to bring meat home.
That has caused some contention in our group, where especially Anthony's a killer. Like he has a hard time not pulling the trigger, not launching the arrow. And the elk tend to at times grow larger, grow larger in the heat of the moment. Like they gain 100 inches. Like it's like,
Lord,
and he's gotten better, as he's gotten older, but the instinct to be successful, to kill an animal is really, it's hard for Anthony. He's getting better all the time. Just I think you kill enough animals, that you can hold out more. But I remember being, and I've said this before, way deep into the eagle caps, deep in gnarly country, beautiful country, fishing, chasing elk and deer. We get on and we had told ourselves, hey, we're so far in here, let's get a whopper, let's get a monster 6x6 if we're going to shoot something back in here. What does Anthony do? He shoots the smallest 5x5 bull elk you could imagine. Like it looks like a deer. And we had to pack that sucker like 12 miles out of the eagle caps. And I'm like, why did you have to do that? Why couldn't you shoot? I mean, there was a big 6x6 bull we had our eyes on. We were targeting. And, but he's like you said, you got that killer guy who's like got to launch those arrows, and if it walks out there, it's hard to say no.
Oh yeah, well, and I mean, there's many, like with me, I'm good with whatever. If you want to shoot a big one, small one, medium, I mean, I don't care, right? I'm always good. But on my end, in Nebraska specifically, not on a backpack hunt, there was two. Of course, they're bigger now that I screwed it up, but 165 to 70-inch mule deer. I was with my buddy Derek, which he fits another class we're going to talk about in a sec. And we started stalking, and a whitetail came in front of me, like a 130-inch whitetail.
Yeah.
I saw red, dude. I killed it. I didn't blink an eye. I mean, I literally was like, oh, you're going to go down. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, it's within range. I'm going to kill it. And he was cool about it, but he gave me crap about it. But so the three parts, you've got the killer or whatever, and then you've got a true trophy hunter, right?
Yeah.
Just he's out there to shoot. And usually those guys, I mean, I haven't screwed up any trophy hunters' hunts too much, and nor do I mind if a guy wants to. I'll help him out to shoot the biggest animal he possibly can. But then you have Derek, which Derek's a great guy. But when I first met Derek, I didn't know he hadn't shot anything. He literally, but I got to hand it to him. He stuck with it. He said 190 or bust for mule deer.
Uh-huh.
And he wasn't lying. And I'm like, you should probably kill something before the hand, right? So but he stuck with it. I mean, for 3, 4, 5 seasons or whatever it's been. And he was serious. I mean, he was on or able to shoot other deer, and he stayed with it, which you got to hand it to the guy. But if you're a guy like me, where I'm like, dude, get down there and shoot something, that could be a potential problem. But that actually, I mean, that really, I think that pretty much covers the majority of the types of different what your methods or whatever else that you can run into. And in the end, finding a guy that you're get along with throughout all of that stuff.
Compatible?
Is very difficult to find compatibility in men. I have found, maybe it's worse with women, I don't know, but looking at different guys I've hunted with, I've hunted with several I'll never hunt with again, and then I've hunted with other guys like with my buddy James or my buddy like Jason, the tall guy, Jason Itutis. Mm-hmm. Great guys to hunt with. I don't know how much I drove them crazy, but they're all pretty freewheeling. Like some, if you're an overly anal guy, I'm probably not going to be able to hunt with you very well because I'm pretty, whatever, oh, you burnt my tent down? Well, let's get some branches. I don't really get aroused,
Right.
Where other guys, you know what I mean, like the world is ended because they broke an arrow or so, you know what I mean? And it's hard to find compatibility.
I would say, like with my hunting partners, with Ben and Anthony, Ben and I grew up together. We're cousins. We're like kids together. So from the time we were born, we've known each other and spent a lot of. We lived next door to each other our whole childhood and up through adults. So he's like my brother, as much as he's my cousin. We're that spent that much time together, and so we fight like brothers. I know him backwards and forward. I know what he's going to do before he does it, and same for me. And in ways, we drive each other crazy, but the bond goes so much deeper than the things that drive us crazy. So we just, I don't know, we've just figured out how to work around all that stuff. And when you love a guy like that, it's a lot easier to just, I don't know, to roll with it,
Yeah. Well, I think like with, not to go into any detail, with James, we were like, I looked at him like a brother. So with what had happened, it had really bugged me. It was some of it was a misunderstanding. It didn't really matter. But the point being is, I think the number one thing you have to have is trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest. Trust with your spot, trust with your life, trust you're going to show up. That cures a lot of these. Once you have a trust relationship built up, after that it's all the through hiker, the methodical, everything else, or the moral compass, and some of that stuff can be looked over.
Just work through it.
Yeah, but if you don't have trust, much like in a marriage, you don't have anything, and you have to have trust.
Well, and Anthony and I are very verbal. We talk things out. When we get angry or upset, we go off. We will not keep it to ourselves. I'm pissed. And I'm going to tell you about it, and then he'll tell me about it. We'll have some arguments. We'll have some arguments with Ben, and Ben's sort of passive aggressive. So we start to argue with Ben, and he just walks away.
Yeah.
And you're like, "What, dude? We're having a discussion here. I'm trying to work some things out here." And he just is like, "Work it out yourself. I got nothing to talk about. I'm good."
I think I'm more like that. I've never been in a hunting relationship like that.
Yeah.
If there was, if there was a big enough, if it happened, you're always going to have some kind of a discussion or whatever. But for me, it has to be pretty. Maybe it's from the military.
Yeah.
If you're not thinking exactly what the other guy is, for me, for the most part, you don't have the same moral compass. You don't have the same hunting. But if you're arguing a lot, I can't handle that as much. Now, it isn't to say it's right, but like through the entire hunt this year with John, I don't know. And I'm sure we'll do a podcast with him on the goat hunt, but there wasn't one time where I was ever irritated at John. He might have been irritated at me, but there was one time I made a dumb mistake when we were climbing out and we almost died, and he had the one route picked up, and I'm like, no, I think we should go up here. John's very passive. He's like, okay, then we get up there, and I'm like, whose idea was this? He's like, I'm not saying, very cool about it.
Yeah.
But then I've seen other people hunt where I've kind of tagged along for a trip, and it was just epic chaos and drama. And I'm like, man, I got enough of this at my house, right? Like, I don't deal with that.
We don't fight that much.
It's more of an argument of what's their discussion of.
Yeah, we'll get into that was dumb. You know, and we'll point the finger. Well, you screwed that one up. We had that you messed it up, and they'll be like, no, you messed it up, and there'll be that whole. But it's like, without that interaction, like, how do you get better?
Yeah,
as a team, as a group, you got to talk about post-performance and what we did right, what we did wrong, and we don't let each other off the hook flat out. I mean, if Ben screws up, we're going to let him know. If I mess up, they're not going to let me hear the end of it, and that kind of keeps us all honest, and also helps us improve, pushes us to be better hunters, better friends.
And I think probably some of it also is like James and I hunted so much alike.
Yeah,
there was never a discussion. He's the same way. He plans on the way, but even probably worse than I do, right? Like,
right.
And he's a very smart guy. He's good in the woods. Very good at field craft, and so we never there was never a time where it was like, I'm like, hey, let's stay out. And he was like, no, we really need to get back to camp. By the time I got out of my breath, he's making a bed with branches and stuff, trying to figure out a way to sleep, right? Well, Colton said the only time Colton and I this whole season, and it wasn't an issue at all, when he went forward to shoot his bull, I started calling. He's so used to hunting solo.
Right.
And that wasn't even an issue. He killed it. But all I thought was, man, I'm glad he killed it, because that could end up something like, well, not an argument, but like, well, dude, I was trying to call it to you, and he's trying to sneak forward, which can be a problem. But even still, it's not like most people would not have done what we did to get his elk, which could be a problem. And some guys may have been pooped, where we were like, hey, let's stay another day or two and go fishing, right? We didn't,
And I think that's where you really develop a strong bond with your hunting partners is when you screw up, but you overlook it because you're all in that thing together. I think I heard Joe Rogan or Brian Callen the other day. They were talking about on the Meat Eater show. They were talking about what is it about hunting that draws you? And Brian Callen, his comment was that it was camaraderie. A lot of that friendship, that it's shared suffering, shared trial, shared accomplishment. That all of that really does bring that camaraderie comes together in that, and it extends beyond just your hunting partners too. It's the whole hunting community that kind of gets you in a way that those outside the community don't. But your own hunting partners, they get you. Like, I was just saying this the other day. I was talking to my mom about this, and I was telling her that there's just not very many guys that would enjoy what we did this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a small sliver of people that would look at what we did and go, oh yeah, that sounds fun. Or look at what we did and go, yeah, I want to go with you next time. And the ones that do often think they do, and then they want to go home after the first day.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think same thing. Obviously, I've had a very interesting and long year. It started August 1st, I guess, or whatever, with the sheep. And like with I'd never hunted with Phil, and I can't say anything bad about Phil at all through the entire hunt. I mean, other than I talk too much and he doesn't talk at all, or talk. But I run at the mouth, which could probably be a chatty patty. I talk too much, which it's funny when we started this podcast, how many emails I've got. Well, people just thought I was a silent a-hole.
Yeah.
And I don't shut up. Right? I talk way too much. But like with throughout the season, like you look at things, you're in the woods long enough. You look at how would it be solo? How would it be, if we had a third guy? Okay, this just happened. And I can't complain. Like this year, it's been great. I mean, with everything that's gone on, it's been super.
When I'm out there with Ben and Anthony and we see an elk and it's 3 miles down a canyon, we're just like, and we spot it. And we're like, that's the one we want. We don't think about it. We just go down there.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, he just ran 3 miles over here. Well, or we got to go to this other canyon. We just do it. There's just not very many people that would find an all-day death march like that with a heavy pack enjoyable. No hunting really got done that day. It was all about relocating to where they are so we can put a hunt on them the next day.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just aren't willing to put in the work, and they're not patient enough with it. And so having partners that are on the same wavelength in terms of what they're willing to put out and work for is all the difference. Now, if you get out there with a guy who, can only wants to hunt from the road and, climbing down a canyon just is not appealing, you're not going to last long together.
No, and I think, in general, call it a sickness or whatever you want. If you don't have that inherent, nature,
drive.
That drive, that whatever's in your DNA to, this is going to suck for a solid 36 hours.
Yep.
but it's going to be fun next week when we look back. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
if you don't have that, I don't think you ever will. It doesn't grow on you. It might get a little better. You might get a little, but that does inherent nature to do whatever it takes at any time and train to be able to do that is less than 1% of the hunting community. And I see it all the time. I mean, Ben, the guy on the goat hunt, he's the one that bought John the tag. Super athlete, right? He physically, I mean, big muscular guy.
Yeah.
Not a total wiener, but pretty close. Doesn't like staying overnight in the woods. He certainly, you got to throw some sales pitches on him to do dumb stuff. Where John's like, oh yeah, let me make sure I grab my hat, right? I mean, he just whatever. He's down to do whatever you want, and so. But we've probably beat this horse. How long have we been going?
It's been about an hour and 30 minutes. About
Yeah,
time to end this sucker.
Yeah, yeah. So trust would be my biggest thing to start off with in a hunting partner.
I agree. I think one thing that I have learned this year, especially, it's been reinforced, is how different Anthony and Ben and myself are. Like, we're very different. Our hunting styles are different. Like, Ben's that through hiker, man of action, go, 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 forget the wind, forget everything, just go, and, I'm a lot more methodical. I like to use calling. I like to, call an elk in. I like to spot and stalk, but not as much as I like to call, And Anthony is very much into spot and stalk, spend all day butt crawling into position on an elk to try to kill it, and we have different skill sets that we bring to the table there, but we kind of have these different other aspects about us that are a lot different as well. But we have been hunting so long together, and we trust each other so much that we know what each guy's strength and weakness is, and we really work well to leverage each of those. And I don't know, we kill elk every year. This year's 2 out of 3. Filming makes it a lot harder because you got one guy behind a camera the whole time, and just makes it harder to kill an elk in general. But also, that's one less guy carrying a bow every day, and opportunities are just less. But having the film to look back on, I really could see. It's kind of like an instant replay on a football game. You can go back and watch the tape and see what you did wrong. And going back and watching some of this, it's like, oof, we really screwed that one up. That was not, what we should have done. But just being together as long as we have, there's a even though we're very different, we work really well together.
Yeah. Yeah, which is uncommon, but that's good. Probably because you've been together for so long.
Yeah, you don't really get to pick your family, right? You just sort of get it. And we've been, I don't know, Ben and I just grown up together our whole lives, and somehow Anthony just fits in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we have our fights. Yeah. I mean, if Anthony wasn't so cocky and if Ben wasn't so hard to work with, it wouldn't be so bad. I mean, clearly they have issues, but they're working on them, and someday they'll be as, they'll be more like me, and then we'll get along a lot better.
Everything will be fine.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, man. Well, appreciate it. So, wrap this up. Say, stay gritty, everybody. All right, friends. Thanks for listening and supporting the podcast. Don't forget about our deal with Mountain Ops. Type in the word gritty at checkout and get 20% off until the end of the year. For those of you who have not seen the Full Draw Film Tour this year and want to go, check out their website for their tour schedule. And if you haven't done so, go and subscribe to our YouTube channel or to the Gritty Bowman TV podcast on iTunes or Podbean so you can see all the latest video content we have produced. And be sure to have a look at the new Elk 101 website where you can find our podcast and other great elk hunting content. Thank you for taking the time to leave us your feedback. We really appreciate your sincere support of our show. Finally, let me leave you with this quote by President Theodore Roosevelt, who in 1905 said, "In a civilized and cultivated country, wild animals only continue to exist at all when preserved by sportsmen. The excellent people who protest against all hunting and consider sportsmen as enemies of wildlife are ignorant of the fact that in reality, the genuine sportsman is by all odds the most important factor in keeping the larger and more valuable wild creatures from total extermination. Friends, always take the time to educate those around you about your role as a hunter in preserving the wild creatures of this world. If you don't, who will? As always, good luck on your hunts and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowman.
Gritty Bowman.